we're only stewards of our position. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't care if you work in a cubicle and you have no one reporting to you, or you're the president of a company or anything in between. You are just a steward. God's entrusted you with those responsibilities and he can take them away tomorrow.
Hi, this is Brad Henry. On the podcast, we have stories about the underdog. I've had a lot of victory, but more tragedy in my life has made me very compassionate and perceptive on those who struggle, but those who are not willing to give up. And these stories will hopefully inspire you to become more and be more in life, to give you hope, to know that victory can be right around the corner. And hopefully today's story will be that one to put you in a great mindset to know that everything in life is attainable with persistence and hope. So thank you for listening today, and I think you will really enjoy our channel. Man I have on today has been a friend for over 25 years, and he's made me laugh more than most. I've been intrigued by his story, his faith. I don't know a better father or husband than this man. And his name's Dave Alpern, president of Joe Gibbs Racing. And Dave, I'm so honored to have you on the show today. So thank you for coming on. I know your life is hectic as anything. So
It's
thank you.
a very kind introduction. You got a podcast, you got all dressed up. I appreciate that. I feel underdressed.
No, I'm hardly ever overdressed, right? Um, we've had so many good times together, and I wanted to plug this because we're going to put out a link to your book.
Nice.
You've done so much with so little starting out. You started Joe Gibbs in a janitor's closet. Is that correct?
Yeah, when we in the early days, kind of right down the road from here
Was it Harris?
on Harris Boulevard. Yeah, Harris Boulevard was a two-lane road. It's now a, pretty big four-lane road. And yeah, we had a little building. It was less than 10,000 square feet. There were about 15 people, and it was mostly people who worked on cars, and they didn't have an office for me when I came on, and I really was unpaid for the first little while, and so they kind of emptied out a really a kind of a broom closet and gave me one of those little elementary school desks where the top's attached to the bottom, wooden desk. And look, you remember this was early 90s, so there was no internet. I didn't have a computer. I had like a notebook and I had a lamp, and the lamp had an extension cord all the way out to the hallway because there's no outlets in a broom closet. And you know, that was how I got my start. And the guys would play pranks on me all the time. Um, I remember one of the they didn't look too kindly to, they called me the college puke, carpet walker. There were a lot of nicknames. I remember one guy, I was trying to sell my car and they played tricks. One of them put transmission fluid where it wasn't supposed to go. So when you turned the engine on, it looked like a rock concert with dark smoke coming out the back. And then one guy took like 10 long tie wraps and tied them around the drive shaft. So when it would drive, it would go tick, 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 tick. It would make noises while I was trying to sell like they would play all kinds of pranks. It was a super unglamorous start to my career, and I did feel like a failure. I felt like I was letting my dad down. I'd moved down here to Charlotte. He had these great aspirations for me, and I'm working in a garage in a closet making
What were
nothing.
his aspirations? I mean, he was with publicly known with the CIA.
Yeah, my dad was a bigwig, and I had two sisters, but I was the only son, and my dad spoke multiple languages and was like a, gourmet chef and
Oh,
played the piano, was a senior guy in the government, and then retired and started his own engineering firm and was super successful and great personality, very smart, and just a lot of pressure for an only child or an only son, who's carrying on the name of the dad.
Alpern.
And yeah, so I actually started college as an electrical engineering major because that's what my dad
Oh,
was. And I'm not really good at math or science. And I figured that out quick. And so that disappointed him when I didn't follow in his footsteps. And so, yeah, it was like kind of one thing after another. And I just never really knew how it was going to go. Um, I didn't really have a good plan. I just had this opportunity and I loved Coach Gibbs, and JD was my kind of my best friend. And I thought, well, what a rare opportunity to go work with your best friend. And I felt like everything Joe Gibbs touched turned to gold. So, hey, this race team thing, it might go. And if it doesn't, it'll look good on my resume and I'll go do something else. And so that was 33 years ago.
33?
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
That is just, oh my.
Life is a vapor, Brad. We know that.
Incredible.
It
And the
is.
first year that you raced, did you, was Dale Jarrett the driver?
Yeah, Dale Jarrett was our first 3 seasons, and we didn't win a race the first year. We had 1 second at Bristol, and then our first race of the second year was the Daytona 500 that we won. And I came on that year. I was the first year I was still in college, so I came on. I was the intern, kind of the end of the first year into the second year, and then I moved to Charlotte the second season, and that's when I worked in the broom closet. And but I started off with the Daytona 500 win, so
Oh,
it was
in a
like, hey,
broom
this
closet.
thing may go, we may actually make it. Um, but it was really different. Like it was, you know, NASCAR was just totally different. It felt, again, we had 15 people, we have 500 now. So it just had a totally different feel. And really, it was a hobby for Coach. Like he thought this would be something I can do with my boys. He 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 still coached the first year that he owned the team until he decided, hey, this is probably going to be a full-time thing. So he was
Oh,
still
he
the
did?
coach when we started Joe Gibbs Racing. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm not
Speak a
going to
lot
spread
at
them.
UNC.
I do. I'm going in a couple weeks, and you can see the stuff in the background, the ball and the football. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I've got a couple of UNC alumni that I paid for, so I feel
Huh.
like I can claim it. Couple of
Well, you and I talked a lot about one topic, um, because we have kids, worry.
hmm,
We're both believers in Christ, but why do we worry? That
hmm,
is, I think that as I come to some conclusion is we care.
yeah,
If we didn't care, we really wouldn't worry. But you and I can come up with scenarios
yeah.
all day, night and long, is what if, and how do we stop that what if in our minds, you know?
Well, it's our nature. I think it has to do with trust, lack of trust. Um,
In
because
God,
if you think about it, if we really believed two things to be true, if we believe that God loves us and that God's in control, we really would never worry if we really believed that, because we would say, if an all-powerful God who created me loves me more than anyone, if he's actually in control, and so that I know whatever happens today filtered through his hands, I probably wouldn't worry as much. But I think sometimes we just don't trust that, or we don't believe that, or even if we do, it's not good enough. So we worry because we we have our own idea of how we want things to go, and um some of it's a control thing, like we just want to be in control of our lives, and when we're not, you know we we worry about it.
take a look at the Gibbs family. Your best friend, my friend JD and Coy, um, they both die at the age of 49. Joe, pray, everybody's praying. They both die. Um, is I think there's a great song from Building 429 that this world's not our home. When we look at heaven as our home, it takes less of the sting out. But man, we don't want to, selfishly in the flesh, we don't want to lose our kids or our wife. Um, even though that's where we're all going.
Yeah. No, look, there's a lot to unpack with what you just said. I mean, you know, I think sometimes when you're a kid and your parent would do things like I guess the best way I can say when my kids were little, sometimes you discipline them and they give you that look like this sad look that would break your heart when you do something and you want to articulate to them, if you knew what I knew, you would do the
Wow.
same thing. But they don't because they're little and they only know this much. And so as their parent, you know more than them. You have their best, you love them more than anyone, and you make decisions that will hurt them sometimes and that they don't understand and that they may go to bed crying, going, I'm mad at daddy, he did whatever, but daddy did it because he knows more than you do. And I'm doing it despite, and blow that up an infinity, that's God. He knows. So when things like you mentioned happen, it's important to try to have that perspective to go, if I knew what God knew,
Ah,
I wouldn't be as angry. But it's okay to be. I think God knows. Like I talk about in my book having a Lieutenant Dan moment. Like
ah,
the Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump when he's at the top of the mast in the storm and he's having out with God. Hey, sometimes we do that. We have it out. We wrestle
yeah,
with God and we're like,
yeah.
hey, bring it on. I'm mad. I'm mad right now. Our kids get mad at us. Doesn't mean they don't love us. And so I think I got angry a lot during that period and saying, God, why would you do this? It doesn't make any sense. Take that guy, take me. Don't, what are you doing? And in life, things don't go the way that we want. Because sin is in the world. It's an imperfect world, and we've turned our backs on God in many cases. And I don't believe things like that. I'm not saying things like that happen because we do one particular thing. I'm just saying the world in general is has sin in it and it's imperfect and we I don't think everything is going to go the way that we want, but what is true is that God loves us and he's faithful and that things like that get filtered through his hands, we have to trust that God has an infinite and eternal purpose in all of it, even if it's not what we like. So but it's hard. It's hard to trust during those times sometimes because you think, well, hey, I did this, or Lord, I, I gave money away, or I went to church, or I've been great with my devotions. Lord, I love you. I'm so much better than that person. Why wouldn't I get this job promotion, or why would my child get sick, or my friend, or why would this thing or that thing not go the right way? And I mean, that's just life. I mean, we're just called to um, love the Lord with all our heart and trust in Him with all of the circumstances around us. But um, you mentioned that we're both believers. Being a believer does not give you a get out of trouble free card. I mean, it certainly doesn't. In fact, it might be the opposite.
A lot, uh,
Yeah, as
you
you know.
are right on that one.
Yeah, yeah,
A lot of times we think it's a get out of jail free card.
yeah,
But it's kind of almost a target on our back. You had said JD in high school um, would go and sit with a guy that had
yeah,
nobody sitting around him. Um, he had this heart of just
yeah.
purity. And, but this world's not our home.
Hmm. No, no.
And to I don't know. That's why we're not God. Life's a mystery.
Well, you mentioned JD, and he, for those maybe that didn't know about JD. JD, I in high school, um, yeah, he was really a picture to me. He was the first person. He was my first peer to whom God really mattered, where God was a part of his life, where he had a relationship with God. I didn't know what it was. I knew there was something different about him, but at first I didn't know
What
that what
year
I.
would this have been?
Yeah, this is in the mid 80s, so 85, 86, 87. JD Gibbs is a quarterback at his high school in Northern Virginia at Oakton High School. We graduated together. He was the quarterback of the football team. His dad was the coach of the Washington Redskins. JD literally was the like when you see a movie and there's like the stereotypical popular kid that's he's the quarterback. He drove a Z28. He's great looking,
Hmm.
except unlike the movies would portray that guy to be a jerk probably because the popular guy would go around bullying people or whatever. JD was literally the opposite. So he was that guy that had all the attributes, yet to what you mentioned earlier, he would plop down at random tables and sit with people and just say, "Hey, my
That
name's JD. What's your name?" And they'd all say, "Well, I know what your name is. Why are
that
you sitting with me?" And it was an illustration that JD really recognized kind of the power of influence and how
but he
he
didn't
knew,
do it
but he
to
didn't know he did it because he genuinely said, "This is my ministry, and I'm gonna reflect Christ in all that I do." And he really was. That's what was different about him, and so that always spoke to me. And I think to this day, I think one of the best attributes of JD that I use this all the time. I think there's a whole section of my book basically called about treating people like a soul and not a transaction. And JD had a way of treating
uh,
every person like a soul. And you know what it's like to be treated like a transaction, when someone's kind of looking over your shoulder or they want to talk to you to get to somebody. And look, my whole career, I'm the conduit to drivers. I'm the conduit to coach. I know exactly what it feels like to be treated like a transaction when someone shows interest in me, but it's clearly only to get to somebody else. Um, and JD always used his position, and he would treat people not for his own interests, but for their, he would treat them like a soul. Hey, everybody, whether it's the guy at a grocery store, the person at the front desk, or the CEO, or anyone in between. And I think it's a great lesson for us in business and in life to just, man, treat people like a soul, not a transaction. I mean, it's simple.
you could fall into the same category easily. Um, you started out in a broom closet, uh, and now you're president of Joe Gibbs Racing, over 500 employees. There's got to be some temptations of, and you don't know where they're coming from. Um, do people like me because of who I am?
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
yeah. It's an ego trip sometimes. I mean, I was talking to a friend recently, like, there's a lot that goes along with it that's difficult. But on the flip side, when you show up to the racetrack on a Sunday and you're the president of Joe Gibbs Racing, man, that'll stroke your ego pretty good. I mean, because
or you fly in on a jet.
yeah, you fly in on a jet and you walk down pit road, and I kind of know everybody, and more importantly, everybody knows me. Um, and you're talking to CEOs of sponsors and NASCAR, and the track presidents and other drivers know who I am because look, a lot of drivers, they'd love to drive for Joe Gibbs Racing. And so you and I think, and again, and I know a lot of other executives, and I think they would say the same thing that you, it's easy to fall into a trap where you're using your job for your own glory. Like, hey, I'm doing this to pump my tires. And really, so the key is, and what I feel like I learned from JD and is that we're only stewards of our position. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't care if you work in a cubicle and you have no one reporting to you, or you're the president of a company or anything in between. You are just a steward. God's entrusted you with those responsibilities and he can take them away tomorrow. And so being a steward means you don't own it. Like the I have no rights to being the president of Joe Gibbs Racing forever. Someone else is going to be this, and hopefully it's somebody named Gibbs at some point. And so the idea is, as long as I'm in this seat, or anyone listening, whatever your job is, God allowed you to be there, but it isn't for you. It's for you to use your gifts. Obviously, He put you there because hopefully you're gonna. So my idea is, what am I doing every day? I get to be, to use biblical terms, I'm in the company of kings. Like because of my position, I get to be with other executives. And what am I going to do with that? If I have 20 minutes to spend with a president of another company, am I going to use it to pump my tires? Or am I going to use it to ask them, hey, hopefully I'm asking them questions no one else is. Hey, how are you doing? How's your family? Hey, where are you with your faith? How's your time with
Yeah.
in the Word? How can I encourage you? How can I be a fountain to pump your tires? My point is, it took me 30 years to get to the point where I get the audience with the people that I have the audience with. So now the question is, what am I doing with it? Am I using it to stroke my own ego, or am I using it to build others up? And that's hard. Like I'm not saying I've mastered that, but I do believe that that is my purpose, that I am here for as long as I'm here, I'm going to handle it the way JD would, which would be comfortable enough in my own skin where I don't need to pump my own tires, I
Ah,
don't need others to,
oh,
but I can use this position that God's put me in to encourage, influence, and hopefully make a difference. Because when and you know this, you were at JD's service, for in JD's funeral, nobody mentioned one thing that he accomplished at work. But what they talked about was the whole service was about the influence he had on people as a result of the great work he did. So all that to say, nothing I'm working on today is going on my tombstone.
hmm,
No one's going to talk about it. No deal we did, no race
uh,
we won, but they're going to remember how I treated people and what I did with this position. And they're going to remember you for that. And they're going to remember everyone listening, whatever your job is. And to encourage you, you don't have to be the president of a company to have influence and to be a good steward.
a father or mother.
Everything. Well, and that's, look, the father part, we could spend the whole time. I mean, to me, the father part's the most important title I will ever hold by far. Um, and when I stand before God, I mean, that's the one that I'm the most interested in God saying, "Hey, you did a good job with that," than I am this one. But
Well,
yeah,
there
no,
were
so
times we'd
all,
travel together and you could have stayed an extra night in the hotel, but you chose to get back early in order to be
yeah,
with your family.
and we have to make decisions. And I mean, people have jobs where they got to miss stuff, but I do encourage you, like people listening, um, take an inventory of your life and your schedule, and um, you got to be fiercely intentional with your schedule if you really want to have margin. Like
Mhm.
you've got to
Fiercely intentional. That
fierce
is a great.
fiercely intentional. Let me say this, your most valuable commodity in your life by far is your time. And we all have the same amount of it, everybody. And let me say this, how important is it that we manage it? Like people think about how much time people that maybe are listening to this spend managing their 401k or whatever. That's not your most valuable asset. Your most valuable asset is your time, man. Be fiercely intentional with your calendar, with your time. If you're somebody who has a busy job, your margin may look different. I mean, if you sign up to be the chief of staff at the White House, don't complain that you're not home for dinner every night. But at the same time, you still need to find your pockets of
Mm.
what are the things that are important. And yeah, for me, when I was coming through my career, there were there were things where I would sit down with my wife and even my boys when they were old enough for me to, and I would say, "Hey, I wish I could be at your whatever it was, but this is really important. I made a commitment to work and I'm going to be at this thing. But on the flip side, I made a commitment to you and I'm going to miss this other thing because I want to be at your thing." And you can use the phrase deposits and withdrawals, that our life is all about deposits and withdrawals. And if you're always making withdrawals, it's
Mm.
going to hurt your family. It's going to hurt you. But at the same time, if you're always making withdrawals from your job, you're not going to be very good at that. So trying to equal out the deposits and withdrawals is something that, again, you just got to be intentional about it. And depending what your occupation is, it can be harder than other things. And that's for your own, like your health. Are you exercising? Are you, when you, I know when you were a a freak runner running all the time, you had to make, I mean, you had to be intentional. You just didn't roll out of bed thinking, I think I'm going to go run 10 miles. I mean, you had to plan it, and you probably had to psych yourself up to do it. And sometimes that's an example of being intentional. Like, you want to get in shape, you got to be fiercely intentional. You want to have work-life balance, you're not just going to wake up one day and go, this works out great, I'm going to have time with my wife. You have got to plan it and fight
Mhm.
for it and be intentional for it with it.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a new title of your new book. That uh, um uh everybody listening right now, I know Dave's sitting in his office, but there's probably a million people running back and forth. He's got 500 employees out in the shop
Mm.
building race cars. He could get a call from a sponsor. Joe could come walking in at
Well,
any
I am waiting for that one. I usually put a sign on my door and I haven't, so maybe we'll
uh,
get to see him before this.
driver contract, sponsor,
Yeah.
it you got so many things. How do you handle it? Is somebody said, eating an elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh,
Well, again, I'd say first of all, it is hard, and I don't have it all figured out. So when I don't want people to get discouraged if they're thinking, "Gosh, my life's out of control." Um, you got to start with one day, and you got to look at the things that are important. And I kind of have an inventory in my life of what's important. And like I said, I have things that are important to me. One of them is a certain level of routine, is as crazy as it ever always is. Um, for me, I start off my day with a devotion. That's a way to ground myself and say, all right, I want to fill myself with God's word, and I want to have time asking God to, you know, give me strength. Um, you know, as believers,
is that tough to do?
it,
Because
it,
we
it
can easily make that rote. Oh, I got to have a devotion. I'll read it, blah, blah, blah. But boy,
no, it's very, yeah, no, it is. But I would also say, and I've wrestled a lot with that is, gosh, if I just go through the motions and I don't feel like praying, but I do, and I read the Bible and I do, I would say sometimes we do that with exercising, but we still do it. And by the way, our body still benefits from it. So I think even if you're in a routine, it's better to do it in the discipline of it.
yes.
And look, as I would say the same thing about what if you don't feel like going and playing catch with your kid? Does that mean you just don't do it? Well, do it anyway. Do the discipline, show up, do the hard things, even when you don't feel like it. Your spouse, there's things you're not going to feel like doing. So the, sometimes, and look, I'm a feeler in the personality thing, so I get the feeling thing, but sometimes you're not going to feel stuff, but you still got to do it. You still have to have the discipline. So discipline is a big thing. Um,
What would you say to somebody starting out like you? Uh, what is the mindset?
in
Um,
their career, yeah.
what
So
would
I would
you say?
say
What?
focus on the things you can control. Number one, meaning there's a lot of things out of your control you could complain about. I would say number two, and these are all choices you make. Attitude, like being you've heard me say be a fountain and not a drain. And there's really two types of people. There's drains who kind of suck the life out of every interaction. And then there's fountains, people who sort of breathe life into every interaction. So that's a choice you make every day, being a fountain. I would say be great at little things. If you ever want to be entrusted to big things, be great at little things. Like when
Ah,
I started my career, uh, they asked me to go put stickers on cars. I went to college. It'd be easy to say it's not my job. By the way, never once in my career did I say that's not my job. Never, never.
ah,
Don't ever say that's not my job. Just do it. Get it done and be really good at little things. Go above and beyond. Be a fountain. If you've ever been on a sports team, there's always a person in the locker room who's not the best player on the team, but they are the MVP. Everyone would go, that Brad, he makes everybody on the team better. That's the person you want to be at your job, where everyone would go, that guy, we cannot do without. Whatever you're paying him, it's not enough. So all of that goes into the topic of if you deliver more value than you're paid, you're
Ah,
always going to have a job.
yes.
And the way that you deliver more value is by all those things I just said. There, and it's not, I'm telling you, it is not by being the best. Because if you could only be successful in your business by being the smartest, I wouldn't be here. If you could only be successful by being the best looking or the tallest or whatever, but a lot of it is the things that you can control, your attitude, the way that you building up the people around you? Are you that person they can't do without? Don't get discouraged by the things that are out of your control. That's not fair. My boss did that. Hey, control what you can control. And then in your life, be as balanced as you can. Find out what are the things that are super important to me, whether it's my fitness, my time with maybe if you're married or if you have kids. So I think a healthy you helps you to be all those things at work that I described. Because if you're not healthy at home, it's hard to do
Well,
all
your
the
wife,
things. It's
Stacy.
hard to come in at work and be a fountain if you're a train wreck at home. So part of it's taking care of yourself, or if you're not healthy, whatever it is. um, I had a executive at Toyota once told me, he said, to be the best president of Joe Gibbs Racing, you have to be the best dad, the best husband, and the best Dave away from work. And that always stuck with me because
Really?
you don't think of it that way, that if you're not
No.
if you're not that first, you're probably not going to be the best at work. Um,
Oh,
and
well,
so,
fortunately, you have an awesome wife, Stacy.
yeah,
And you got three great kids. But getting back to the gentleman from Toyota,
yeah,
he, I'm sure he's high powered, could do
yeah,
whatever he wants to do. But for him to say that,
yeah. Well,
that's
that was a good
pretty
friend,
powerful.
That was a guy, Jack Hollis. He's actually no longer with Toyota. He's a guy I admire a great deal. And yeah, no, and it starts with, look, God brought a wife into my life. We've both been blessed with, having a wife to share the hard times in life with. And you know, yeah, no, that's Stacy's been an amazing blessing, and that's one of the secrets really to my success is having a godly wife that I could go home to and um, talk about and just say, you're not even going to believe, I don't even know where to start. And she would usually say, well, let's start by praying, and we would pray about whatever the
Oh,
situation was.
wow.
Um, just but I also want to say to anyone listening, because like, look, my sons, um they're all single still, and so somebody may be listening and go, well, I don't have that. I go home and it's just me. And I will say the Apostle Paul said, it's better to be like me, which is single. If to be really effective in ministry, he was almost saying it's better, he said it's better to be like
Yeah.
me, but if you have to
Yeah.
marry, then and those of us who are married are so
Distracted.
blessed to have our person and to have a soulmate. But I think God uses you whichever stage of life you're in, whether you're single or you're married. Um, again, I'm grateful that I have a godly wife and that was what God chose for me, and that we were able to have children. And but listen, I have adult kids now, and um, you know I would say this has been the hardest stage of my life because I feel like my whole life leading up to having kids was preparing me for that. And then my whole period having kids at home, life made sense to me then. Like, because I knew exactly what I was put on earth for. It was like, I'm a dad. I'm a I'm a dad to these boys. Like, I have been, everything God's taught me is to pass on to them, to protect them, to be their guardian, to be provide for them. I would hustle at work because I was like, I'm doing this for
Mm,
them. And I again, as dads, we don't have a playbook, so we're certainly never perfect at it, but we do the
yeah.
best we can. And I was like, I would wake up every day and I was like, this is what I was made for. And then they went off to college and now they're adults. And I will say I struggle sometimes with, I mean, I'm still their dad and I love being a dad to adult kids, but this chapter of life is harder for me because, again, it's like it doesn't make as much sense as it
Is
did
it
because I
lonely?
miss them being there. Yeah. What's that?
Is it lonely?
Yeah, no, I mean it is, and it's for both of us because like me and Stacy are doing great, but yeah, it's like, well, you know, my job takes up a lot of the space, but it 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 for me is not where I get my self-worth. Like I really don't. I don't want it to be. And so it's like I want more, but with the kids gone, you get them in like um you need to be available and there's times they need counsel and I'm still a big part of their life, but it's not every day. It's not I don't have them at the dinner table every day to give them wisdom and to whatever. So sometimes we sit at the dinner table and we're like, I wonder what the boys are doing and what
Oh,
God, what have you put here? So
yeah.
we're going to help plant a church, Stacy and I are, and it's like we're looking for our next ministry together because there
Are you
is
thinking of doing that?
we are, yeah, no, we are planting. I mean, we're being a part of a church plant now in South Charlotte. We just moved 2 months ago, so we have a new kind of a new neighborhood, and we're
Oh, you
viewing that.
moved?
We did. We moved to South Charlotte now, so we're that's kind of now we're wondering, all right, God, what do you have for us in this next stage? Again, work.
Wow.
I've still got work as my ministry, but
Yeah,
and I still have the boys, and Lord willing, we'll have some daughter-in-laws and some grandsons at some point. But again, in God's timing, and I'm content with whatever God has for them in that area. I really am, and God's working on me with that because that can become an idol for us too, that
yeah.
we want
Is
them
the
to play
church
their lives
plant
out.
under a organization?
Yeah, it is. No, it's going to be a PCA church
Oh, cool.
down in South Charlotte and in Myers Park. Uh, so that's going to be fun for us. But again, as much as I can be a part of a church when I'm gone on Sundays at the race,
Ah,
so that'll be tough for me. But I'm going to try to really help during the weekdays, and my wife has
well,
got a real
Stacy
gift.
will really
Yeah,
take
she's
care
got a
of
gift,
that.
particularly with younger women, and she mentors quite a bit of young moms and even ladies who aren't moms yet. And she's kind of like the Pied Piper with that. But yeah, so
Young
excited for this
life
stage
was
of
a
life, but
young
still
life was a big part of your life.
the Young Life ministry has been a huge part of our life. I met the Lord through the Young Life ministry, and um,
And how would people connect, get into young
yeah,
life?
I mean, Young Life is, in my opinion, the most effective outreach to adolescents in the world, and it has different areas and it meets at different high schools. There's usually an area director, and then most of the leaders are volunteers. Um, my twin boys are volunteer leaders down here in South Charlotte at Myers Park High School,
Oh,
and
wow.
they mentor high school boys. And we get parents coming up to us all the time thanking us for the influence
Oh,
our boys have had in their lives. And that's just an example of the godly legacy that the ministry of Young Life kind of allows us to have. And yeah, it's full circle with them doing that. And I'm super grateful that the Lord's using them with their busy careers. And then I have my other son in Nashville, and he's doing his thing in the music business. And he was a Young Life leader in college as well. And so Young Life's been a big part of our family.
and if somebody is in high school or listening to this or getting in, how do they,
Is
is there a website?
Yeah, to go online just to younglife.org and check it out. And
Okay.
and
I'll
they
put
they have
that at
chapters really all around the world.
the
Honestly, over 100 countries is pretty amazing. But big ministry here in the U.S. and very grateful
um,
for it.
I know this has been a lot of time out of your day, and I sure appreciate you being here. It means the world to me.
Well, let me say this. I For those listening who don't maybe know a lot about you, like I mean, Brad, yeah, you're a guy who could write 100 books because it's like you've lived 100 lives. I mean, this is a guy that we would be at dinners or business meetings, and he would talk about, remember that time I was a pilot, or remember that time I was climbing whatever mountain it was, or there literally wait, you did that too? Like you really have had a life of adventure, and I know again, like all of us, you've also been through a great deal of hardship and just know that the Lord has used you and continues to use you in a powerful way. And I'm glad now that he's put on your heart to do a podcast, and hopefully you can reach more people this way.
Dave, thank you for your time, your friendship, all these years, and for being genuine. I asked somebody the other day, how would you like to be remembered? And they said, I would like to be remembered that I was fair. And
Hmm.
that is you. Um, uh, you get what you see. I'll put a link to Joe Gibbs Racing, but please get the book and please write him a note and pray for him. He is a awesome man, and I'm so grateful to have you on,
Well,
Dave.
thank you, Brother Brad. And I will say, last thing is when people ask characteristics of a good leader, my top two are character and authenticity. And I think if you're going to really lead people, those are more important than any giftedness or any personality trait. Those are the two important ones. So if I get remembered as those two things, then I've done a good job leading, I believe. So grateful for you, man. Thanks for having me on today, and thanks for putting on not only a dress shirt but a pressed one. It looks very nicely coiffed. All
All right, Bert.
right.
Great talking to you.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, see ya.
See you, my friend.
Thank you for listening today. Quite a segment. Hope you got as much out of it as I did and that you learned something from adversity, not giving up, that there's always hope no matter what the circumstances. Please subscribe to our channel so you get all the latest updates and you can see all the past great stories of people who have overcome true adversity and hardships in life. I'm Brad Henry. Thank you for tuning in.